I'm Ira Rheingold. I'm the Executive Director of the National Association of Consumer Advocates. I worked as a legal services attorney in Maryland for a number of years, representing homeless families and public housing tenants. I did welfare rights work. I did all sorts of work in Maryland. Ultimately, I began a project that now is called the Home Ownership Preservation Project. We were doing some of the cutting-edge foreclosure prevention work and anti-predatory lending work in the mid-'90s and late '90s. When I got to Chicago and was asked to run this project and went out into the communities and discovered that all this wealth was being stolen from poor people, that African Americans who had owned houses in Chicago for a long time were losing those houses at a horrible rate, and the money that they had saved, generations of families who had lived in homes were now losing their homes because of the predatory practices that we were seeing from the entire mortgage marketplace. So a mortgage foreclosure basically is a homeowner who can't make their mortgage payments, who are then either taken to court or in a lot of states simply get a notice. What results in is people losing their home. That's what a foreclosure is, and what a foreclosure leads to is homelessness. Now the foreclosure crisis that we're seeing comes from various sources. The unemployment rate's terrible right now, so that's one issue. Two, mortgage lending, the underwriting of mortgage lending became pretty bad. One, there were a lot of loans that people were being given that they never could have afforded. The system was broken. I love the conversation that you hear from the mortgage industry when they start talking about, well, people should never have gotten this loan and why'd they take it out and they're trying to game the system. I put the analogy to a bad car or a car that was designed poorly. When one car drives off a cliff, you say, hey, maybe the driver made a mistake. When 100,000 people all drive off the same cliff, maybe there's something wrong with the car. But when 100,000 or 5 million people wind up in foreclosure because of the terms of the loan, maybe it wasn't the borrower who was at fault, but maybe there was a complete design flaw in the product that was being sold. So people would get mortgages that were 45, 50, 55% of their income. There was no safety net. So if their kid got sick, if they had a decrease in income, if they lost their job or their hours went part-time, suddenly they did not have the money saved or the ability to afford their mortgage. There was no cushion for them. Only last year, Congress passed a law that said it was unfair to make a loan to somebody that they can't afford it, right? Which is insane.